So we're going to get into my court process because that's something a lot of people have brought up and asked me about. Now, the essay didn't stop until I was 15, which is when I told my mom about it. When she originally left him, I had gotten in an argument with the family, and it led to the point where I had told my mom that what he had done to me. At that time, she had requested that we don't talk about it with anyone. We don't tell anyone else. That's it. For her safety. And at the time, I also believed that, like, in my brain, mind you, I was 15 years old. In my brain, I believed my mom was innocent, and that what he did to me was his wrongdoings, not hers, that she was not involved whatsoever. And I strongly believed that. I'm 32. I found out that CPS did warn her about him, and now I have 3 children of my own. Has my opinion changed? You could say that. From there, we had moved towns. I'd made new friends, and I told a couple friends, but I asked them not to tell anyone because I didn't want my mom to get in trouble. After about 5 years, it was decided that I wanted to seek justice. So I was encouraged by some family members at the time, even though we may no longer speak because I don't speak to my mom, so now I don't speak to anyone, but I guess that's okay. That's a whole other video that we can get into. For now, we're going on the court process. So I had decided to look for therapy first because I didn't think it was a good idea to just jump into the court process. I had found a wonderful therapist in my hometown. Best therapist I ever had. Best decision I ever made. Therapy, by the way, is amazing. Therapy is not to be frowned upon. Now, if you're considering therapy, like, that is a power move. Get that therapy, get that healing, and show them that nothing's gonna take you down. Okay, back onto the court thing. I called the police and I said, hey, I want to charge so-and-so for doing this to me, but I don't want my mom to get involved. I don't want my mom involved at all. They said, that's cool. I said, oh, okay. I was quite surprised. I said, okay. Well, they said, well, if you want some time to think about it before you make the report, think about it, call us back. I said, great, yeah, I'll do that. I'll think about it first. Mind you, this is still 5 years later. We don't have limitations in Canada, so you can report at any time. I had decided that I wanted to go visit my mom. I said, Mom, I want to press charges. She tried to encourage me not to. And then she tried to encourage me to at least wait till she goes on vacation. But I chose to press charges as soon as I got back home at the time, which was my hometown. So I traveled back home, and I called them up and I said, I'm ready, let's do this thing. They had him arrested by the next day, and it was already started. He ended up getting bail from his parents, and from my understanding, he wasn't allowed to travel to the town that I was in unless it was for the court case. Court case went on for not over a year, but there was a few dates where it just kept getting pushed on, pushed on, pushed on. I had started to think that this was going to turn into, like, he said, she said situation. Once I had decided that I wanted to press charges, they had told me that because there was no actual physical proof, there's a good chance he could get away with it all, but I wanted to take that risk and I wanted to plead my case. They said if he pled innocent, that he would go to jury, and it would be a jury say, and it would be a lot of back and forth, and it would be his lawyer at me trying to discredit everything that I've been through, and that it would be a really, really re-traumatizing experience to go through. They wanted to make sure that I was ready, or or understanding of what I was about to get myself involved in. I wanted the justice. So I said, let's do it. Let's go through with it. So there was a few court cases where I just got the phone. I didn't go. I didn't have to be there for every single one. But I would get a phone call and they would tell me what happened. And they'd say, okay, the new court case is this day. The new court case is this day. Oh, this is happening and we're getting a new court case this day. And honestly, it just all feels like a blur. This happened quite some time ago, when I just had my first daughter. Anxiety. One day I get the call that he pled guilty. He was offered a plea deal. At the beginning, okay, never mind. Rewind. At the beginning, I had to sit down with an investigator and basically tell this investigator what I remembered from beginning to end. I don't even remember how long I was in that room for. Honestly, feels like a whole blur. I remember getting the phone call. Oh my God. I remember getting the phone call that she had like over 20 charges. I forget if it was 23, 24, don't quite remember, but there was over 20 charges. And from my understanding is that he must have let something slip. They offered him a plea deal and he pled guilty for only 5 charges. On the final court date, my therapist joined me. I did have my mom there, my brother. He had his support system. He had asked the judge if he could apologize to me, and the judge basically said no. He was sentenced to 5 years in prison, and he was released on good behavior after 3. And from my understanding, he had protective guards while he was staying there. To round it up, I lived with him for 10 years. He did unimaginable things to me, convinced me to remain quiet. My mom also convinced me to remain quiet. I finally pressed charges. He gets 5 years and released after 3. Mind you, this is his second time successfully being convicted for child SA. And I was told there's a good chance he'll get away with it anyway. So, I'm one of the lucky ones. Now he's out. There was publication bans put on my case. They still exist, but they've been amended. So I have to be careful about what I say, just in case. Also, he's out now for safety reasons. I don't want to give too much information. Moving on, I want to thank you all for listening and coming out, even though this was kind of hard for me to do. Have a good day.